In the beginning. How many stories start this way? In the beginning, the world was formless and void. In the beginning, once upon a time. In the beginning, a long time ago, in a galaxy far away. In the beginning was the Word. Have you ever noticed how much the traditional Christmas story has been embellished? How much of the nativity scenes and the images on greeting cards and the versions of the story that we find in children's books and Christmas pageants just is not in the biblical text? For one thing, the three kings did not show up the same night as the shepherds, and in fact did not show up to the manger scene at all. And speaking of manger, there are no animals mentioned in the story. Not even a donkey traveling with Mary and Joseph. Shepherds watched their flocks, so flocks were mentioned. But that's kind of it for animals. There's no place at the inn, yes, but there's also no mention of an innkeeper standing at the door saying, "No room," or "Go away." These are all things that we have inserted into the story over the years, because the few lines that we have in only 2 of the 4 Gospels don't make for a whole picture, and definitely don't make for a very long Christmas pageant. And then we have this morning's reading from John. In the beginning was the Word. I have to tell you, this is actually my favorite account of the Christmas story. It does not paint a picture that can be drawn with figures and characters, but it does paint a very compelling image of who God is and what happened when God became human. But let me back up a little bit. You need to know that I am a big fan of surrealism. Salvador Dali's paintings, Thomas Barbet's photography, on and on and on. Surrealist art, for me, opens the door to experiencing and understanding the world in new ways by turning around our expectations and making us think in new ways. John's account of the incarnation of God is surreal, especially when held in contrast with the usual nativity images. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. It sounds complicated, but it's actually one of the first passages that students of biblical Greek learn how to translate, because it's fairly easy grammar from a Greek standpoint. But it's not something that can be easily drawn or sculpted or painted. It's not something that can be defined or organized or explained, at least not in ways that humans can make easy sense of it. So we add to the story. We embellish with a grumpy innkeeper. We emphasize the beauty of the newborn child by adding in grungy animals by comparison. But that doesn't make it make any more sense. Pretty stories and lovely scenes on greeting cards are good, and they're lovely for Christmas Eve. They make a nice story to tell around the fire at night, when children are excited for the festivities of the next day and need a lengthy bedtime story to settle down to. Speaking of Christmas Eve, have you ever noticed how many Christmas carols are about the night? I usually forget this until I start looking for hymns to sing at the Christmas Day and Christmas season services. Silent night, it came upon a midnight clear, O little town of Bethlehem. Even the ones that are not obvious about nighttime start talking about stars and quiet darkness, And that's just a little bit weird to sing on a sunny Sunday morning sometimes. Of course, even John's gospel talks about the darkness. But it's not the darkness of night that will end soon. It's the darkness that comes when our people, when human sinfulness causes pain and fear. It's the darkness of a broken world, the kind of darkness we cannot escape on our own, the kind of darkness we are sometimes reminded of at this time of year, when the days are as short as they will be. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things came into being through the Word, and without the Word, not one thing came into being. What has come into being was life, and the life was the light of all people. And then comes the line of hope to a people who have long walked in darkness and have maybe forgotten what else there might be. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. Light and dark. Now we're beginning to talk about things that can be painted and drawn. Maybe not easily, but it can be done. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. The light, which was life, which came from the Word. And the Word became flesh and lived among us. The Word, which was life, which was light, became flesh and lived among us. This is the story that keeps going. It does not end when the candles are extinguished and the last cords have faded. It does not end with people walking into the darkness and the cold of night. It continues in the morning with light breaking through, with a baby waking up, with the Word made flesh. And still the story does not end here. It doesn't end this morning. It keeps going. Tomorrow morning and next week and the next week after and on, because God's story cannot be contained by human stories or images or ideas or definitions or timelines. God's story, like God's love and grace, goes on and on. No matter how bleak or dark our human story, no matter how much we feel the darkness surrounding us, whatever that might mean or look like for you. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. Thanks be to God. Amen.